Hey there. No need to adjust your TV, or more likely your phone. You're watching.
Wow, we're starting off with some ads here. Well, that is not how I was supposed to go, but we are so excited that you all are here. Welcome to the first ever Tern webinar of 2025. We are so excited to be kicking off this year with just some really incredible updates. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is David Shaw. I'm the CEO and the co-founder here at Tern. And like I said, we have an absolute action-packed agenda full of updates for you that you are not going to want to miss. So thank you for taking the time out of your day today to learn with us. Before we get into the content, just a couple housekeeping items. We always start off with this, but please say hello in the chat. We're a social bunch. It's already been kind of fun as the kind of hype video was playing, seeing all the people kind of saying where they're calling in from. I saw some folks that are not too far away from me. So if you're calling in from Michigan, shout out to all of you. But we have team members all over the country and all over the world. So let us know where you're calling in from. Love to see that. Love to see the energy in the chat. A couple other things. We always joke as a team that we are, especially the support team, shout out to all the folks that are, you actually meet later, but they are fighting for their lives in the Q&A. So please, we ask if you do have a question, which we expect that many of you will as we go through this, go ahead and drop those in the Q&A section. You'll see on the toolbar in Zoom a little Q&A box. That's where you can put your questions. That way you'll be able to, we'll kind of be able to track those. The chat, I can already see has hundreds of messages. And so if you put a question in the chat, it will fly by at an incredibly fast speed. We will probably not see it for many days. So don't put your questions in the chat, put your questions in the Q&A. Hopefully that's self-explanatory, but you'd be amazed how many chats we see when we're reviewing them in a couple days. They're like, my question didn't get answered because they put it in the chat. So Q&A, great place for questions. And yes, we always get this question. We are recording and we will be posting probably early next week is when I would expect that this will be available on the Tern website with kind of a blog post summarizing everything there. And so that's where you're going to find that. So wanted to kind of kick off with some housekeeping, and we're going to go ahead and jump in with just a little bit of a kind of introduction here. We believe at Tern that we are at this just incredibly exciting moment in the travel industry. And we've sort of called this the resurgence of the travel industry. We had to go through some pretty dark days to get there. Many of you I know have kind of weathered the pandemic. I've talked to many of you who started your business in 2019 or 2020 and really had to figure out what does this really dark period of the travel industry mean for me, for my business that I'm building. But as we've sort of come out of that, we've seen all these incredibly exciting tailwinds and increased demand as travelers started using travel advisors, maybe for the first time or the first time in the wild, and experienced firsthand the incredible service, the incredible experience, the incredible trips that you all craft. And we see that spreading via word of mouth. We see a surge of new advisors coming into the industry who see this as a long-term option. I think it was LinkedIn said that the top five, that travel advisors in the top five jobs in 2025 for this industry, or just generally. And so it's really cool to see the industry getting that recognition. And of course, we have at the kind of macro level, just these incredible technologies like artificial intelligence, these new tools that are coming out that are making it easier for you as advisors to focus on the things that really differentiate you, the service, the human connection, the experience. And so we just believe that this is one of the best times to be in this industry. And we are so thankful and grateful to be here with each and every one of you, really starting what is going to be a pretty incredible 2025 for us. Now, despite all this positivity and all these exciting things, one of the reasons that we ended up starting Tern to begin with is we realized that the approach to technology has not really changed in the industry in decades. And this goes, kind of all the way back 2.5, 3 years ago when Brian, Katie, and I went to that American Society of Travel Advisors conference in San Francisco. And we just had a single goal, which is to learn as much as we can about the industry and kind of understand what technology was like. We sort of had this perspective that if travel advisors are doing all this kind of incredible things in the travel industry, they must have pretty cutting edge tools, right? I mean, maybe there's not even an opportunity for us here. And what we heard is the opposite. Every single person we talked to, whether it was an advisor, an agency, a host agency, a supplier, all told us the same things. that they're juggling different systems, and they're logging into an itinerary builder and a CRM, and then they've got another tool, and then they've got a platform that they use to keep track of their notes, and now they have an AI tool, and it's just this incredibly fragmented landscape. And that's true at every layer of the stack, right? There's yet another platform that they had to do sales reports into in order to get paid by their agency. And the agency has to report their sales up to the host and the consortium. And it is just an absolute mess. And what we started to realize as we dug into this, and again, as we talked to all of you, was that these arrows, right, these kind of lines that connect these things, these aren't fancy APIs, right? You have backgrounds in building technology companies, and it's like, oh, like maybe these things are all just seamlessly integrated, and each system's really good at that thing, but it talks to all the other systems. And I bet that most of you are kind of chuckling to yourself right now because you just know how far from reality that is, right? The reality is that these arrows is manual data entry. It is you or your team or the assistant that you pay manually typing and moving data between these systems. And with every single kind of migration or movement of that data, there's opportunity for error, there's opportunity for forgetting, there's opportunity for all these bad things to happen. And so we really have come to kind of term this the invisible work. Each of those arrows represents invisible work of you moving data between these systems. But we more broadly think about the invisible work that has held the travel industry back as anything that you do that takes a lot of time, or really any time at all, that's not directly adding value to your clients or to your business. And so at Turn, we're really laser focused on how do we eliminate invisible work. We sort of started a little bit of this like hashtag, like end invisible work, because we believe that if the industry, specifically travel advisors, agency owners, host agencies, are empowered with truly great technology, that this invisible work can go away. And if that invisible work goes away, what does that mean? Well, it means that you're free to spend more time building your business, selling travel, connecting with your clients, or maybe, and this is a radical idea, but like taking a break. I was at a conference yesterday in Orlando, and it was amazing how many people on stage, these kind of top producers, were like, my goal is like I'd love to try and figure out how to have more work-life balance. Like I'd love to spend more time with my family. And there's this kind of tension because like there's so much inefficiency that can be really difficult. But we believe that the right technology can actually unlock that and allow you to take that time that you reclaim and spend it on whatever you want, whether that's back into the business, it's back with loved ones, whether it's traveling more, whatever it is. This is what we are chasing. This is what we are building at Turn. And in order to do that, we believe that what the industry needs is a vertically integrated approach, right? As long as you have all these different point solutions, even if each individual point solution gets a little bit better, or even if there's a new company that completely rethinks that part of the problem, if it's not solving the broad workflow challenge that is the different players in this industry in a seamless and deeply integrated and well thought out way, then we've just upgraded the problem set, right? You now have a shinier mousetrap or a shinier widget at each one of those things, but guess what? There's still the manual work connecting them. And so we see the only path forward for the travel industry is this vertically integrated experience where there's one platform that is seamlessly and best in class serving advisors, agencies, and hosts. And that is exactly what we are building at Turn. And as we go through the updates that we've made over the past 4 months, we talk about the demos that we go through, everything that you'll see is through this lens of how do we create a vertically integrated system so that as an individual advisor, you have an incredible platform that's saving you time, making you look incredible to your clients. And with a click of a button that syncs up with your agency and gives them everything they need to run the kind of supplier payment management, commission reconciliation to help you get paid faster and more reliably, and with less overhead for the agency than any other platform out there. And we'll continue down this path over the next many, many months and years and like really stay laser focused on how do we build a seamlessly integrated system that flows from end to end, that unlocks efficiency, that unlocks growth, that unlocks customer and client experiences that no other platform out there can do. So we have had a blockbuster, I think, few months. I'm so excited to share this. I'm so bullish on 2025 and the roadmap, and I get to hand it over to a celebrity at Turn, which is Molly, to talk about just any kickoff things, all the amazing stuff that we have to show. So Molly, take it away, and then you're going to see the famous Brad here pretty soon as well. So stay tuned for that.
Oh my gosh. And Michael in the chat with the Lord of the Rings reference, really just starting my presentation on the right foot. I'm a big fan. I think that's our new slogan as a company. Absolutely love it. So I'm seeing so many familiar names in the chat. So excited to see you all again. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Molly. I lead product here at Tern. And as David said, we have so many incredible updates to talk about today. It's really hard to even imagine that it's only been 2 months since our last webinar. But we're going to be talking about major upgrades to groups, top requested features that we've launched, and then of course our agency suite and all of the exciting changes that we've made there. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into groups. If you joined us last time, we had a massive groups webinar. I think it broke all kinds of attendance records last December. We talked about launching customizable landing pages, streamlined group signup, and flexible group management, along with things like room options that we launched across every trip type and turn. But of course, we weren't done yet. And so we're going to talk about some of the exciting changes that we've made to groups since then. We've been just blown away by the engagement that we've seen. You all have created almost 4,000 group trips, 12,000 sub trips, and over 1,000 landing pages in just a few months' time. It's pretty incredible. We've seen some of the examples of these beautiful landing pages posted in our Facebook community, and they're works of art. I think, if you know Brad, he has very high standards, and they've passed our lead designer's bar. So just incredible to see how much people are engaging with groups. And we're really proud of some of the things that we've launched since the last webinar. Starting with option blocks within group signup. So as many of you know, today you can set up option blocks on your trips. This allows clients to easily select between options of things they may want to do on their trip. But right before the holidays, you weren't able to do this within the group signup flow. So we unlock that in the group signup flow so a client can choose between these options and then authorize things seamlessly all within the signup for their group and see the itinerary built out for them. Next, we know that it's not always that you want the client to choose between things. Sometimes you just have things that are optional add-ons that they can either choose to add to their trip or not. And so we heard all these kind of horror stories of people trying to hack option blocks to support this, and it was pretty clunky and it didn't work within the group signup flow. And so we introduced the concept of these optional add-ons that work across any trip type, where clients can add these things onto their trip or not, and then again, seamlessly authorize them right from their itinerary or right from signup. And then finally, we know that especially when you're managing these large group trips, you have a certain amount of inventory available per room, right? You have only a certain number of specific room types available. And you're not going to just sit a turn all day, refreshing to see when these rooms are taken. You need to be able to say, for this type of room, for this luxury suite, I only have, 50 of these rooms. And so as clients sign up, I don't want it to be overbooked. And we also know that when things sell out, you may want to go back to the supplier and say, I need another block of rooms for this type. There's been even more demand than I expected. So you can adjust those things on the fly and reflect that real time to clients. So really exciting improvements to groups that we've made. And the other thing that we did, so I saw in the chat, actually, some people were already talking about this, but we have a user conference coming up in September. And we're going to talk about this a little more later in the presentation. But we thought, why not use Tern to host our user conference, right? What better way to understand the pain points with the product and what's working well than using it ourselves? So we launched our user conference with Tern, and it was really exciting. It was incredible to host our own group trip in Tern. A lot of things went well. Other things we felt firsthand the pain that we've been hearing, and so we're so excited to continue to invest in this product. Things that we hear from you over and over, things that we experience firsthand, more flexible sign-up forms to control kind of the details that you collect from clients as they sign up, instead of having to follow up with detailed contact forms, things like occupancy rates, flexible date selection, trip funds, group reports, all of these things you'll see rolling out this year, where we know that they're so important to you. Of course, we'll continue to listen and prioritize feedback as we hear it. So a lot more to come, but a lot of exciting updates that we've already made this year on groups. And of course, we didn't stop with groups. I'm so excited to introduce the famous Brad to talk about some other amazing improvements we made already this year.
Amazing. Thanks, Molly. Really been hyped up today, so I hope I can do this well and deliver on the excitement. But for those who don't know me, my name's Brad. I'm the head of design here at Tern. And yeah, it's been an incredible last couple of months, like over a year now since I've been here, just working with this community, designing and building product for this community. And so excited to share more with you of some of the changes we've made over the last couple of months based really on your feedback and making sure that we continue to deliver on that promise of reducing that invisible work, saving you time, and delivering a super high quality client experience. One of the first changes we made this year was that we simplified the traveler login flow. We know this can be sometimes controversial, like, oh, I don't want my travelers to have to log into something. Well, we made it so it doesn't feel like login anymore. We know that it's still really important for you to protect sensitive information. If you have documents linked to the trip, if you have confirmation numbers, you don't want folks like sharing those things out where they could accidentally, someone could get a hold of those and edit something about the trip without being the actual travelers going. And so we just make it super simple for them to type in an email address when they need to get to any of that sensitive information. We'll send them a 6-digit code and they just type that into Tern and they're off. They don't have to think about setting up a password, remembering that password, like going to verify their email in somewhere else. It's just enter your email, type in a code, and you're good to go. The day we released this, like we hadn't even announced it yet, we had a message from an advisor talking about how before this, you used to have to send kind of follow-up messages to clients explaining to them, well, here's how you log into Tern, here's how you get to credit card authorization. And before she even had a chance to do that, immediately her clients had already authorized their payments that were due. So even for folks who are less tech savvy, this has been a super easy way to ensure that we keep that security super high for the sensitive information, but also make it super simple for folks to actually take the action they need to do in Tern. In addition to that change, we also introduced some more flexibility into pricing options within Tern. We heard your feedback that mostly pricing cruise rooms and room options was very challenging because before you used to have to enter it all per night pricing, even when that wasn't the actual rate you were getting or the way you were getting the quote from the supplier. So we've adjusted this so you can toggle now between per night and total pricing options. And then it's really up to you how you want to present this. And it's super flexible, again, just to make sure that however you're getting that quote, you're able to enter that into Tern. In addition to improving those pricing options, we also made an upgrade to our automation and workflow suite to provide better support and immediate support for trip created and status change triggers. And so what this means is now when you get a new intake form from a client, you're able to immediately send them an email or create a task to follow up on that trip. Used to before have to potentially wait up to 24 hours because of how it worked previously. So thank you all for your feedback and let us know how important it was to deliver on that super quick because we were able to make that change over the last couple of months. And then in addition to that, the most upvoted thing that we had in our feedback tool from all of you was to remove the requirement to have a time on every single activity within an itinerary. Before, when you put anything in Tern, we'd automatically default that to midnight to 12 a.m., assuming like, oh yeah, well, it's fine to have a default, but you'll fill that in with whatever the actual time is. Well, turns out when you're planning a trip, you don't always know what time a thing's going to be, and you might never actually designate a specific time for something like an afternoon hike. It sounds really simple on the surface, but this required us to basically completely re-architect the way we handle dates and times on activities and itineraries. So shout out to our engineering team who worked tirelessly to pull this off and make sure that no current trips were disrupted, like there were no issues translating over from our previous architecture to the new one. And now you no longer will see a 12 a.m. time in Tern, unless maybe you're planning like a Northern Lights hike or something, you can do it yourself, but we're not going to force it on you. You can just leave it empty and it'll work exactly as you expect. And those are just a few highlights of some of the updates we've made across the product. Really, there's been a ton of changes, both big and small, from big re-architecting things to just like small, what we refer to as quick wins. Everything from introducing the ability to export your contacts or your agency's contacts, improving styling on PDFs, new document types. You can read the list and you can always find these updates in our weekly product update in our blog on our website. So there's so much there that we've already improved, and we're so excited to keep iterating on these changes based on your feedback. So if you're not already sharing your feedback in our feedback tool that you can find in the help menu in Tern, please do so. We read everything that's posted there, and we take it really seriously to make sure we're delivering as much value as we can. Now, to change gears a little bit, we're going to move to talk more about some of the agency features that you can use to power your agency with Tern. Last year, we introduced our original agency suite of features that included basic commission reconciliation, some basic reporting, for the first time, the ability to collaborate on trips and contacts and to share them across your agency or with an assistant, and then also the ability to share library content within an agency. One of my favorite things that I've seen over the last couple of months is how agencies have been using library content sharing to really empower their teams to provide a better client experience, to level up their sales, and also to just help their advisors save time when working on items in Tern. So agencies have been creating task lists and workflows. They've been setting up automations that their teams can use. And they've also been creating activity templates that they can pull in when creating itineraries in Tern. Up until today, there's over 12,500 activity templates that agencies have created for their advisors, over 7,500 email templates, and over 1,000 workflows. If you can imagine how much time some of these agency admins and owners have been able to save their advisors and allow them, again, to focus on the things that matter, to focus on like the personalized client care that they need when they need to do it, customizing trips when they need to. But all the basics that are there, they can just pull in, again, into an itinerary or to have automated workflows set up for them to just get up and running on Tern. We've even heard from some agencies that have moved over that these library content that the agency has created have been one of the reasons that their advisors like really love Tern once they get over that initial kind of skeptical hump of like, oh, I have to switch systems. Why are you making me do this? And then once you're able to share with them all of the workflows and templates and the things you can do to help them save time, they start to really love their experience and start to move over. Not to say people don't love it without that, but we've heard that this has been one of the things where agency owners are pleasantly surprised by some of their more skeptical or less tech-savvy folks making the jump. So with all this in mind and everything we've done so far to help share content across an agency, we're introducing one more thing that you can use to share content, and that is supplier profiles. So as of basically yesterday afternoon, now you can introduce supplier profiles to your agents in Tern. These are completely customizable, so you can add whatever details you have about a supplier that you'd want your agents to have quick access to when planning trips or working on anything within Tern. We've heard from folks that they'd include things like links to the portal for booking, maybe details about the BDM that works with your agency from a specific supplier, who to contact support, or details like default commission rates or cancellation policies. Again, this is completely customizable to you. So whatever you think would be helpful for your agents, you can include. And then your agents can quickly access that in their library. They can search for suppliers there. And then anytime they're planning a trip, they'll be able to quickly link to that supplier page if they just need to pop it open when they're like trying to remember, oh, who do I talk to about that? Or how do I get that information again? They can just pop that open directly from an activity within Tern. The last piece of value that this adds here, which maybe is the biggest piece, is actually this helps you clean up your sales reports with a clean supplier list. We've heard from folks that the kind of community sourced list can get a little messy. There's maybe quite a few duplicates in there if people aren't always following the rules about not creating duplicates. So this way, your agents will see your list of suppliers that you've approved and make sure that they're selecting those items when reporting bookings and when they're working on trips. And then your supplier list and for your sales and details like that will be super clean. And so we're really excited to see where this goes. Can't wait to see how you all start using, again, suppliers and supplier profiles. And as always, keep the feedback coming. I'm sure there'll be more things we can do here to continue to make this better for you and your agency. And with all of that, I'm going to hand it back over to Molly to dig into more of the features we've been building on the commission reconciliation side.
Amazing. So much fun to see all the love for agency suppliers in the chat. But we know that we couldn't just stop with shared content, right? As an agency owner, if you don't have the tools that you need for commission reconciliation and paying your agents, you're not going to be able to use Tern efficiently. And so Brad and I think we're on gosh, 3 or 4 at least agency calls every single week. And over, we heard so much excitement for providing this all-in-one system for agents, but talking about how it's just too time-consuming to use Tern today because you have all of these policies at your agency when it comes to things like commission reconciliation, what dates you pay your agents out for various supplier commissions, that it just took too much time to do those things in Tern. And so over the last 2 months, we've really been focused on making that whole process more aligned with your policies as an agency, therefore making commission reconciliation just work. So let's talk about it. We started, as always, with the agent side, right? So your agents are already planning these trips in Tern. They're already building out their trips, getting credit card authorization, working with their clients, and marking things as booked. When they mark things as booked, those bookings will automatically be surfaced to you in your commission reconciliation dashboard. Now, what we focused on building is better settings to make sure when those things show up, they're showing up in a way that makes you not have to manually enter all of this different data in order to reconcile. Starting with default payout dates. So originally, when you were logging supplier payments, we would always set the payout date to the date that you logged that commission as received. So you might get in some commission for your agent from a cruise, and you'd have to each time adjust the payout date for that agent forward in time so that you're not paying them too early for that commission, and you don't have to do things like claw things back if it gets refunded and things like that. Now you can set a specific setting to say, hey, my policy is that I always pay my agents at the end date of travel or the start date of travel or whatever that policy is. And then when you're logging that commission, it just automatically reflects that rule that you have set. So that's thing number 1. That should make it a lot more efficient. Next, we know that agent rates aren't static, right? An agent might graduate to the next level of commission, for example, if they reach a certain sales threshold, or you might adjust your commission policies. And when that happens, each agency might operate a little bit differently. You know, we used to, if you changed an agent's commission rate, automatically reflect that new rate for anything that you're reconciling commission on. But sometimes we know that you actually need that to only go into place for bookings made after that rate has been changed, right? So for anything that's been booked before they've graduated to the new commission rate, they still get their old commission rate. For everything new, they get the new commission rate. So now you can add these different rates in your settings. You can see the history over time. And if you've added a new rate, it will only go into place for bookings made after that date. And of course, if you like the old system, if you have that rate reflected immediately, you can leave things as is, just change the rate without setting a new one, and you'll be all set. And then the third pillar is commission types. So we know that not every trip type is created equal, right? If it's an agency lead, you might have a different commission rate for your agents. Or if it's personal travel, you might give them 100% of commission for that trip. And previously, it was kind of difficult to kind of manage that, right? There was no way of structuring those different rate types. Maybe you had a promotion for a specific month, for example, that you needed to go into place. And so now you can actually, any type of commission rate that you have for your agents, you can set it up as a type. You can say what the impact is on split. That could be a flat rate, or kind of unique to Tern, you could actually adjust that on the current rate of that agent. So if they're at a 70% split, maybe you don't want it to be an 80% flat rate, but you can just adjust it by 10%. So you can set up those rates. You can decide, do I want my agents to be able to select this type themselves when they're logging things? Or do I only want access to the rate, right? Should it be admin only when I'm reconciling commission? So with these 3 settings, like the default payout date, the different rate types and commission types, what this allows you to do is when you go in to log that supplier commission, everything should just work. The payout date is set for when you want it. The split is reflected for personal travel or agency referral or what have you. And you can just do a quick scan, make sure everything looks good, and go. No more spending, a lot of time having to think, okay, well, for this particular agent, what do I need to adjust the split for? It all just works. But that's not it, right? You need to be able to have commission reconciliation work better, but we also heard there are gaps in how you pay your agents out. So we're so close, right? We had the ability to export all of the different agent payouts, but there wasn't a way previously to log adjustments and also to get a single export that consolidates what you owe for your agents each pay period. So first, again, this is brand new as of yesterday evening. So I'm not even sure if our Tern detectives in the Facebook community found this yet. I didn't see it come through. But we introduced a new tab for commission that's due. This consolidates everything that's due, so everything that's eligible for payout based on those rules that you've set per agent as a single line item. You can drill in and see what that means in terms of the commission and adjustments that you've made. Maybe actually log an additional adjustment if you need to before you complete your payout. So you can add, maybe a fee or a bonus or what have you as a part of reviewing that payout. And then you can export across all of your agents, name that statement, and get a single spreadsheet per agent of exactly what you owe them for that pay period. And we've heard over and over, this was like the last remaining gap that was lingering when considering switching from some other systems. So hopefully this should really kind of complete that flow for you and make it super easy to pay your agents. So David's going to show you how this all kind of comes together in a single consolidated flow, and hopefully, giant leap forward in the back office and you'll be able to switch to Tern today.
Awesome. Wow, I hope everyone is as fired up as I am. I mean, it's just so cool with each of these webinars to see just how much we ship in 3 months, to see the impact based on your feedback. But it does make my job a little bit harder as we think about these like live demos, because there's just so much to bring to life in the couple minutes that we have. But we're going to try and show almost everything that Brad and Molly just took us through in the product live together, starting with some of the updates on groups. We'll highlight some of the time changes. You can sort of think about the first section of this demo as the improvements to the day-to-day kind of advisor trip planning experience, and we'll use a group to demonstrate that. Once we've kind of done that, we'll end by marking an activity as booked, and then we'll switch over to and put our agency owner hat on, and we'll look at how you can use Tern to reconcile supplier statements, how you can then flow right into that due column and ultimately export a report right from Tern that you can run to start to pay your agents. And again, the magic and the power of Tern is that this is all happening in one system. So we're not having to enter manual data, sales reports, all these things. That's why even at the kind of agency webinar, right, we can't not talk about all the updates on the advisor side because we believe these things should be so interlinked. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. This is the first time that you have seen Tern. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. This is the kind of trip planning overview. So you have these customizable columns. You can also get a list view here. And the idea is as you sort of work the trip through your process, you can kind of drag and drop things from right to left. And you can see that I've got this group trip, this Highlands to Hamlets. ChatGPT may have helped come up with that name. But this is a group trip complex FIT to, as the name suggests, the UK. And so I just clicked in on that here. You can see this is a brand new trip in the planning stage. We are no sub trips, but I just kind of want to orient you if you haven't seen the group, just so you know what's going on here. At the top level, we have this group. The group defines all kinds of settings for the group itself, everything from the default currency to how you want to show pricing to different tags that you automatically want to apply. This is a really robust group management system. And then the group itself has an itinerary, a landing page, pricing, a lot of the functionality that you need to kind of configure the group. And we're going to spend most of our time today in the itinerary, and then we're actually going to register for the group as a traveler. So you can see that workflow with things like optional add-ons, with things like the kind of real credit card authorization, the new sign-up flow. We're going to go through all of that here together. But I also want to highlight the landing page builder. This is something that we're really proud of. We've got this self-service sign up that is, we think, the best customer experience in the industry, where you can really build out these beautiful landing pages and that your customers would really, we think, love. So if you just preview this, you can get a sense. This is where it starts. And again, we're going to come back to this page here in just a moment. But what I want to show you is actually how we can use some of these new tools that Brad and Molly talked about, and those live under the itinerary tab here. Now, I'm demonstrating this within a group because some of the updates are about groups, but this same set of features that we're talking about for the most part also works on trips. So things like the optional activities, things like the not having to have dates or the times associated with activities, all also apply to a normal trip in the same way that it does a group. But a couple things you'll see here, if we look through the group, we've got activities, we've got three options here. If I just click into this stay at the Savoy here in London, and I toggle over to rooms, you'll see that I've got the room configured, and I have a couple different options for my clients to choose from, and I've defined an inventory here. So again, just showing you where that lives in the settings. This will really come to life once we look at the registration. Again, lodging, rooms, you have that inventory management that we talked about. Such a game changer when you're managing groups. And of course, you can start to define the booking, the pricing, and the other elements. But I need to add a couple things to this itinerary. The first thing I want to add is an optional tour from Project Expedition, specifically this VIP Inner Circle Stonehenge experience. And so I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of our AI tools. And I'm just going to kind of copy and cut this entire Project Expedition experience. And I'm going to go over to the right-hand side, and I'm going to drag over an activity right onto this stay on Friday, May 9th. And so I'll just let go of that. Everything in Tern is this kind of drag and drop experience. And I'm going to paste those details into the AI and let that do the heavy lifting so I don't have to fill out all of these boxes while we're on the go here. So you can see it's going to pull that in here, and I can go ahead and I can now start to add that. And it now has filled out these details. Again, always recommend kind of with AI that you're going to want to double check things. So if I go in and I say that this Project Expedition is actually the supplier here, we now see the agency preferred suppliers in action. Every time you have a supplier text box here, or kind of search box, I should say, as a part of an agency, you will see the agency preferred suppliers. And right from here, I can say, yeah, this is booked for Project Expedition. So a couple other things that we're going to do. You'll notice Tern's automatically brought in media, descriptions, some times. That all looks good. But I want to make sure that my clients know this is an optional thing that they can choose to add on or not. And so I can go ahead and say that maybe this is per person pricing. And I'm going to scroll down on this pricing tab. And I'm going to add in a couple details. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that it's ready for credit card authorization. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the booking supplier is indeed Project Expedition. I can define cancellation policies, refund policies. We'll show what this looks like. But this is kind of part of our online checkout experience that maintains compliance and helps protect your business. And so we want to make sure we get all those details. But then there's the section right here, which is that client selection. You, for every activity, have the choice on whether or not this is something that everybody's going to be doing or something that maybe you want to upsell. So in this case, it could be like, hey, this is not a part of the group, but I want to upsell this to my clients. And again, this works for individual trips as well. So you may say, hey, you didn't ask me to put together shore excursions, but I put a couple in there just in case you're interested. They're optional. You can choose to add them. And this is a really effective tool, we believe, to start to upsell different parts of the tour to make just a little bit extra commission or a lot of extra commission on your trip. So I'm going to click on this Make Optional. Again, this is on the Booking and Pricing tab under the Booking Details. And this is also where I could actually start to say my expected commission if I wanted to enter in those details. Right here is where you'll see those different splits. So the agency split, if this were personal travel, for example, I could indicate that here. It's going to update that based on what my agency has defined. So if I'm a part of an agency that's running their commission through Tern, right in this exact same place that I'm defining the customer-facing details, I can put the details in that are going to be submitted to my agency. And we'll come back to this here in just a few minutes. But you'll see Tern is now telling us if they select this, it's ready for authorization. And so we are good to go. We will now kind of move on to the other thing that we need to add on our activity or our itinerary. And that is another option. If you don't want to do the VIP Stonehenge Inner Circle tour, you can actually go ahead and maybe just explore London on your own. So I'll drag over an activity here and I'll just say explore London on your own. Or I could actually start to use the AI assist here to just say, a day exploring London on their own and have it fill out the details for me. Again, up to you. If you want to fill it out, write it yourself, or you want to just cheat a little bit and use the AI, you can go ahead and add that. And you'll see in this case, it did actually fill in the times. But if I wanted to just make that a little bit more flexible, I can remove any of the times here just by deleting. Or if I add a new activity, I can add that. And this way, that customer will see We don't have to, whatever time you want. And before, again, if you're like new to Tern, you're like, cool, you can delete the times. Like before, you couldn't delete the times. You had to have a time there. And that was problematic because like if they wanted to, you may have some customers that want to sleep in until 11 a.m. You have other customers like jet lag, they're up at 3 a.m. Like whenever you want to start exploring London on your own, you can start exploring London on your own. We don't care, right? And so now we have that flexibility, and you'll see that in the itinerary where you can start to manage that. So again, flexibility on the times, and we think that is really cool. Okay, there's one more thing before I go to the sign up experience as a traveler. We're going to go through the end-to-end registration as a group, and then I promise we'll move over to the agency side to see how all these things connect seamlessly. But before I do that, I want to just highlight, first I'm going to publish those changes just to make sure they go live. And this is where we can copy that landing page link. Just want to do that before I forget. But I'll highlight over on the overview tab. Notice how I have it set to automatically apply a tag anytime a trip is created. And so anytime somebody goes through this self-service sign-up flow, it's going to add a tag. You will see in a minute as we register as a traveler what this actually does. But I want to show you where it's coming from so you have the context. So we're going to leave the group trip here for a minute, and we're going to click on library. This is where we can see if you're an agency owner, you can start to set up those agency suppliers. Right now, that's for agencies, but we have big plans long-term for continuing to improve suppliers across the network. But we can click on workflows here. And I just want to show you this because you'll see the outcome. But this is where we have the UK group welcome. This is a workflow. Workflow in Tern is basically emails that you want to send based on certain triggers or times, tasks that you want to create. It's a set of automations basically and tasks that help you save time. And in this case, we've set it up to automatically apply this workflow anytime a trip tag is added to the UK group, which is a really powerful way if you're planning groups to say, basically, anytime a group trip is created, I want to do these things. And so we've made a very simple one here just to show you what this automation looks like, because this automation is set up to actually send as soon as a trip is created. I want to immediately send an email, like instantaneously send this trip welcome email. So again, we're not going to go too deep into this. We're not, this isn't a workflow training, although we do have those. Jade will talk about that in a few minutes. But I wanted to highlight this new trigger because we'll actually see this email come through instantaneously as we register for this group trip. All right, we've talked about a lot of things. Let me just recap that before we move on to the next section. I'm going to go back to trips. I'm going to open up this group trip that we've been looking at, and you can see that we have this kind of dashboard. We demonstrated how you can add activities and make them optional. We demonstrated how you can actually add activities and have them not have times, both very exciting updates. And what we also demonstrated that you can set up between tags and workflows, you can set up emails to happen immediately after trip creation, which is helpful for things like groups, but it's also helpful for maybe sending out things like once a trip has been created via form, automatically sending a thank you to them or whatever that may be. So just so many cool use cases. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about them all right now, but hopefully this is helping you understand the kind of setup piece. We also demonstrated the preferred suppliers and how that shows up on each activity. So again, as you're planning this trip, you're not having some other form that you have to submit and select a supplier. It's just integrated into the workflow, which we think is really, really special. Okay, what we're going to do now is take off our travel advisor hat and we're going to put on our group traveler hat. So this is a pretty sweet trip. I'm going to go ahead and just click on publish here, grab that link again. So I'll copy that landing page link and I'm going to pop this up in a incognito window so I can show you what it's like to register as a traveler. So I spent 3 years living in the UK. This is giving me serious nostalgia and serious wanderlust. So I am ready to register for this trip. And so we're going to go ahead. We're going to scroll down. Again, if you haven't seen our landing pages, I think they're second to none. Interactive itineraries, custom sections that you can add, tables, like really, really cool stuff here. But this is not a group webinar. So we're going to go ahead and just quickly click on the right-hand side where it says register today. This registration flow, by the way, is very similar to what your credit card authorization flow will look like on an individual trip. So when it's a group trip, we call it register. When it's a trip that you've been planning for an individual, it is called credit card authorization or trip kind of approval flow, but they behave very similarly. And so you will have the same option even if you're not managing groups. So I just don't want people to hear this and think like, oh, this is only for groups. This type of like seamless online checkout style experience is largely the same between the two, with the biggest difference being the inventory management. So let's go ahead and click on register, and this will now walk us through that process. Right away, we're seeing our forms experience where you can customize the form. This is unique to groups where you can customize the full registration form. Cool updates. Stay tuned for Molly's section at the end. Some cool things coming there. But I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and make up a traveler. We'll say Megan Smith, and we'll say that this is the email and a phone number. And we'll go ahead and click on next here. All right, so again, customization, you can choose what fields and features you want. In this case, we have the details about the traveler number. And you'll notice by popular demand, birthday is required here. We realize that there are things that you need in order to book travel. And so we have updated that. And again, stay tuned for some updates from Molly here at the end, but we could add multiple travelers if we wanted to. And those are all going to automatically sync with your CRM. But I'll go ahead and say I agree to those terms and conditions. And now we get to the part that I think is really cool, which is the validation. So I just made up this email. It does not have an account in Tern. And so historically, you would have had to, as a traveler, go through this multi-step account creation process. Great for security, great to collect a bunch of data about your travelers. Not great for quick, fast, I just want to get in here and do this. And so within Tern, now what we have is the ability to actually immediately send that. So if I refresh that, you see I actually got two emails. I got the trip creation email that is sent as soon as the trip is created, which is as soon as that form is submitted. And I got this verification email. So I can go ahead and click on that. And I can just paste that back into here. And right away, I've now actually created an account in Tern. So you'll hear people be like, oh, I don't like that my clients have to create an account in Tern. That's gone, right? They just need to validate their email, right? So that you know who they are, you know that you can send emails to them, you can communicate about their trip, or in the case of credit card authorization, you know that they are who you think you're working with. One of the biggest fraud vectors is that people pretend to be somebody that you know and is actually using a stolen client credit card. So using that kind of email validation that's associated with the trip is a major security benefit, and you can see how easy it is now. So really, really proud of that experience. But now we have this really cool online checkout style thing where we can now start to come in as a group. I can see how many of each thing are remaining. So I can actually start to understand. I can choose how many rooms I want, and I can now start to make these selections across, in this case, multiple hotels. Again, this is kind of a custom European FIT style group. But this also works for weddings. I saw some people in the chat saying, this has been great for destination weddings, managing room blocks. We're using this for our users conference to make sure that we don't oversell our cabin block. Like there's just a lot of really cool things you can do here. But we'll now build that out. We'll click on submit. And again, we now have this optional add-on. So this is like so cool. It's like online checkout. Like oh, but did you think about this? Like, would you be interested in this? Whether it's this kind of European group or it's you're just selling a cruise to a family and you're like, hey, here's some shore excursions. Any of these you want to do? Right? Like this upsell just feels so natural. They can click in, they can see the details, they can get excited and like, actually that does sound pretty sweet. Let me add that to my trip. And I think actually it'll be like, one or two of us, this is smart. So how many people you put on there, you can choose who's going to do that. And again, just want to shout out like the entire Tern team here. Like we had to build basically a booking engine to support this type of thing, because what happens as soon as you click on submit here is that Tern's like, cool, let's do some credit card authorization. And like the math that has to happen between all these different pathways, you can see this. We've got like multiple hotel stays. We've got different room options. We've got this now optional add-on that's been added here. And all of this is seamlessly summed up for us, including taking into account installments and payment plans. Like it's just this really credible experience. In this case, we've got the kind of saved credit card details. So we can just select that. We can go ahead and go do the e-signature here. Again, worked with travel industry lawyers and experts to really craft this flow. And I can go ahead and submit that authorization. Tern is the only platform out there that I know of that goes from landing page to personalized itinerary in, what was that, 3 minutes flat? And so you can literally start to see, I've got a personalized itinerary with the selections that I've made. If I click in on the hotel, I see my room. I have the VIP thing because I added it to my itinerary, right? This is, we think, best in class. And again, the same experience works at the group level. It also works when you're sending clients an individual itinerary. There's nothing like this on the market. And we think it really is a best in class client experience. And the coolest part is that it syncs immediately with the agency back office. And so let's look at that and get into all the other cool stuff that was updated. So when I come back to the group and I just click on refresh here, we can see that we've got this Highland to Hamlet Smith, which was just created by Megan Smith. I can click into that and I can see the details of the CRM. And if I click on the pricing tab, or actually I click on the authorization tab, I can see that these are credit card authorization ready. No back and forth, no emailing the client, no sending a separate form. Like, it's just ready to go and it's compliant. There's a paper trail for the entire thing. And so I'll click in on the VIP Stonehenge experience here. You can see it's got an active credit card authorization. And so if I scroll down, I can now start to access these details. Of course, these are fake details, so don't get excited. But I can now start to enter these into the project expedition site or wherever I'm making that booking. And once I've done that, I can go ahead and mark it as paid, indicate the payment date, and I can mark it as booked. Before I mark it as booked, I may want to add a confirmation number. So I could go ahead and put that in down here. So I could say, confirmation number is this. And I now have that. I could update the commission rate, again, based on the different options just right here. But this is the same data that my client's using, right? Like, I didn't actually enter any of this. I just entered the template. And then in the group context, my client gave me everything I needed. So all I have to do to now get paid for this by my agency is click mark as booked. And I can now see the accreditation. I can see all the details. I can make sure this all looks right. You can see my expected split, but I can now go ahead and click on mark as booked. Done. That's submitting a sale in Tern. It's really that easy. I would love it in 5 years if we don't even have to think about the submit a sale thing. It's just like, it's just marked as it's done, right? You indicated it's been booked. Like, your agency now has everything that they need to reconcile that payment. And that's where we're going to go next. We think this is really, really, game changing. It's incredibly exciting. Whether you're looking at the group context, whether you're looking at any of these other contexts, it's really special to have this type of experience where you have a best in class digital experience integrated every element of the stack. Okay, we've worn 2 hats so far. We've worn our travel advisor hat. We've worn our traveler hat. We've got a 3rd hat to put on. I need to actually get hats, I think. That way there's like a nice visual of who we are at each stage of the demo. Maybe that'll be the next webinar thing, is that I'll just put on literally different hats so people know who we're pretending to be right now. But the 3rd hat that we're putting on is agency owner. And so we are going to now transition over to the commissions tab, where as an agency owner, you run the kind of financial hub of your business. As an individual advisor, you also can see the financial hub of your business here. But as an agency owner, there's really this kind of robust kind of capability to manage supplier payments, to manage these payouts, to manage what's due. And that's what we're going to look at today. 2 of these features literally have launched within the past, call it 14 hours. And so really excited to demonstrate those because it's always fun to have a feature that launches on the product launch webinar day. But it's going to be fun to show that. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to reconcile supplier statements. We're going to kind of pretend like Project Expedition, staying with the kind of example that we used earlier, just sent us a statement that we need to go ahead and reconcile. So I'm going to go up to the top right here, and I'm going to click on Add Statement. Again, this specific part isn't necessarily new, but this unlocks all the other things that we're going to demonstrate today. So we click on the statement name, and this is where we can go in. We can say Project Expedition. We can say that this is the Project Expedition element, and that we just received a check for, let's call it, let's actually say it's $1,001. And we'll go ahead and create that statement. And now Tern's automatically going to bring up what I think about as reconciliation, command, and control. So there's a lot going on here, but let me just break it down for you in case it's the first time you've seen it. You're going to have the list of things that have been reconciled. Nothing here right now, as we haven't reconciled anything. We've got adjustments. As you start to add adjustments, this could be bonuses, this could be fees, this could be anything that you need to adjust manually about this, they will show up in this section. And if you have anything that's unclaimed, you can see right now, $1,001 is unclaimed because we haven't reconciled anything. And so if we can't find it, that would be the sort of state of the world. then we have every booking in your system right here. And you can see that we're showing 20 bookings at a time. We can paginate this. It's loading very quickly. This is modern technology. We're in 2025, people. Like, you should be able to see more than 5 bookings. Like, this is really, really fast. It's really snappy. We're really proud of that. So let's go ahead and I'll actually search for Project Expedition. And so I'll just start typing that in. And again, this is real-time search. I don't have to type everything in here. I can just start typing Project Expa and it will automatically filter here. And so I can now start to look through this. Now, in the real world, right, you'd have the statement and you'd be kind of referencing back and forth and like maybe searching on confirmation number, maybe searching on some of the different client names or booking names, right? You can kind of do these searches. And in the future, maybe like you don't even have to do that, right? Maybe a lot of that's just automated, but stay tuned. Anyway, so I'm going off script. I'm sure Molly and Brad are rolling their eyes at me already, but we'll go back on track here. We could say, okay, yeah, this Amanda Steve's booking has been submitted. I can go in and of course I can make changes, right? So if this agent split was different, I can manually do that, or I can actually just say, no, we just want this to be the default. Let's just update that commission type. And I can go ahead and save that. And just like that, you'll see that has now added that to my list. I've reconciled $311. I've got $689 in unclaimed left. And so you can kind of think about this as like a little bit of a game to try and make it like as fun as possible, where you can now start to say, okay, let's like keep reconciling this. We're trying to get these numbers to match. And so we'll just keep going through this. We'll say, okay, this one also there. And so we can go ahead. Yep, mark that as part of it. We're now down to 365. And then maybe in this case, we have, we'll say this 325 one. And again, we'll kind of just make sure these splits are correct. And then we've now got $42 left. Again, in a real world, you would sort of be matching this, but maybe it's actually, okay, this confirmation number matches the line item, but Project Expedition thought it was only $40.06. And so we can go ahead and we can click this and we can now start to say, we'll click on the plus button. We'll say that it was the 6078, but again, default split. And we can say that this was the $40 and actually $42.93.94. Let's see. $42.12, $42.06. There we go. In a real world, you wouldn't have to do the math because it would actually just line up with your statement, but we can say it's $42.06. I like to use this kind of right here in the top right. I'm using it to figure out why it matched. But with that, we've now got the right number and we have the magic $1,001 reconciled and $1,001 in the statement. Now, in another world, we could also say, okay, there was a fee, so we could add adjustments, right? But like the goal here is that when you get a statement, you're working to reconcile or have adjustments that match up to the statement amount. So you can kind of do all of that. And once it's good, we can close that statement. Just closing the statement indicates we're kind of done processing it. You'll see that it now is going to give us a summary of everything that has just been kind of reconciled here. And now when I go back to that commissions tab, you'll start to see that we can go to due. And this is brand new, again, as of like 16 hours ago. I now have an itemized list of here are the individual advisors, and here's how many bookings they have, and here's how much I owe them. And so if I click in on Barry, we just reconciled 2 of theirs. We can see, here's the amount, here's the confirmation number, here's the split, here's the kind of breakdown. Any adjustments that you've added are also going to be here. And so you've got this now kind of command and control, quick overview where you have everything that you need to understand, like where's the money going, which is great. And again, as you start to do this, it may be over a week or 2, depending on your pay period, right? You may be reconciling statements as they come in, and then you pay maybe the last Friday of the month or whatever it may be. This will continue to build, and you'll continue to have this record of how much is owed until you're ready to pay your agents. And when you're ready to pay your agents, all you have to do is click on pay. We can say that this is going to be the March payout, and we're going to pay it on March 6th. It's an early March payout. We're going to go ahead and click on pay agents. Now, what that has done is it now creates this series of statements, one for each agent, that kind of breaks that down. You can see that we've tied that to the statement name, and I can now export that. And this is the coolest thing. I can click on export, and I'm going to pop that open here, just that CSV that was downloaded. This is probably minuscule. I can zoom in here and make this 200%. But now what I have is with the click of a button, the agent name, the statement name. So whatever you put in that box would show up here, how many commissions there were, how many adjustments there were, and how much was actually owed, the date that it was paid, and a direct link to that. So you always have a record back to the full paper trail. And so this is something that you could then take and upload to your bank or your payroll system or whatever that needed to be in order to actually process the payment to those advisors. So end-to-end flow, right? There's no other system out there that we know of that is best in class, front of house advisor system that with the click of the button gives your agency owner everything that they need in order to start to take supplier payments, actually reconcile that, match that to the bookings, and then actually export that data and pay it out. And of course, all of this feeds into the reporting that we have. So at the click of a button, you can start to see things like gross sales, bookings, supplier details, all of that kind of eliminated for you here. So we're incredibly excited about that. And I'm going to turn it back over here to Molly in just a minute, but I forgot to show you one thing with my advisor hat on. So bear with me as I switch hats one more time. And that's just one really cool thing I wanted to show on the preferred suppliers piece. And so I'm going to go back here just to one of these kind of itineraries as a supplier and advisor. And I'll just click on one of these suppliers. So if I go down, say, for example, the Fairmont, any of these agency preferred suppliers is sort of the language that we're using here. I can now click in on as an advisor and I get all this kind of detail. So in this case, we've given like a summary of it, but you can imagine like we see that a lot of agency owners maintain these portals or all these other systems, right, that has this data. This page will continue to evolve over time. Like you will see this get more and more robust. But this is where I think it's like super exciting. Even today, you could put a bullet point list of like, here's our corner of contacts, here's the agency sites that we recommend. And so that like right within Tern, your agents can now start to find some of this key context and understand some of the elements that make that a really unique relationship between your agency and that supplier. So again, didn't want to gloss over that, right? The preferred supplier piece is more than just, a fancy drop-down menu. It's actually helping you contextualize the relationship that you have with that supplier. And again, you'll see this page, I think it's smarter and smarter and smarter over time. And eventually we want to make sure that even if you're not with a Tern agency, we'd love to get you at the Tern agency, but that you will have access to a kind of similar supplier kind of experience. So a lot more to come on that over 2025 and probably for many years to come. And that maybe is a good transition back over to Molly to talk about what's coming next, because believe it or not, this is the first webinar of the year. We're already working on webinar number 2. And so we've got some really, really exciting stuff. Molly.
Oh, I think I lost David, but I'm gonna roll with it. Okay, so I'm just gonna get into presenter mode here. All right, so happy to be back. I was actually looking at the chat, and it's really fun to see the very people who gave us feedback to build a lot of these features getting excited about getting to use them. So thank you to all of you for helping us build Tern. We really could not do it without you. And we're not even close to done. As David said, we're just laser focused on building things as quickly and high quality as we can to move towards that vision of a single platform, the one ring to rule them all, as our new slogan is after today, for the travel industry. So what's coming on our advisor roadmap? And I will say, these are just a few highlights. We have a lot more in store, and we like to stay, as you know, very agile to adapt to whatever is most important at any given time. But I think some of these will get people really excited. So forms. We've gotten so much feedback around forms. We know we need to give you more control over form fields. I saw one person in the chat asking about having control to opt out of requiring birthday. Well, that is coming very soon. So soon you'll be able to have more control over those specific fields that you want to toggle between optional and required. We also know how much you want to be able to collect more contact information within the traveler details in the trip request form. So coming very soon, you'll be able to nest any sort of contact details you want to be automatically added to the CRM for each traveler signing up for a trip. And finally, the pesky cover page responder element, we're going to give you control to not have to have those things if you don't want it. We've heard you loud and clear that that's not always how you want to structure your form. So giving you more control and simplifying forms is coming in March, and we know that will be incredibly exciting. Now, invoicing. Invoicing is, I think, one of the bigger gaps that when you're considering switching to Tern from other systems, you might see today. We also hear this over and over from specifically Canadian agencies around TICO compliance and TICO registration numbers. So very soon you'll be able to generate trip invoices to send at any time that will actually have, all of the payment statuses and total amounts across your entire trip. You can send that before even building out your full itinerary if you want to your clients, and add your own custom language to meet whatever compliance requirements you need. So that will be huge. And, we personally reviewed every single piece of feedback related to invoices to make sure that we're addressing those concerns. Now, the next item here, trip building, it sounds pretty broad, and it is, right? We're going to be spending a good chunk of time in this quarter on streamlining certain flows around trip building. I saw some comments in the chat and Q&A around making logging bookings more intuitive and where you mark things as booked. So not only simplifying those core workflows and making sure that things feel simpler and more polished, but also adding some fun magic touches and surprises. So I'm not going to say a ton more than that right now, but I think we'll really be able to delight and surprise this quarter with some of those things. And I'll say one little hint, I guess, that I'll say is AI city and port guides might be coming soon, but I won't say more than that for now. And then dashboard, I know this is another one. It's one of the top voted things in our feedback tool that we see, getting a better bird's eye view into key details like upcoming authorizations, tasks, upcoming key trip dates that you need to keep track of. So having kind of a home control for bird's eye view into those details matters so much. So that's on our roadmap. I see the chat blowing up. I hope it's positive. And then finally, editor upgrade. This might be the hypest piece of them all. So we will be replacing our editor. It's in progress as we speak, which will include better support for all of your formatting needs, copy and pasting, that pesky undo, and much more. So very, very excited to be sharing this roadmap. I think it's going to be super exciting. And, if you know us well at this point, you'll see dozens of other changes as well, big to small, coming in the next few months. And of course, we're investing in our agency roadmap too. So we have agency level contact importing coming very soon, actually. This is in progress as we speak. So you'll be able to import contacts at the agency level and mass assign your agents instead of having to have each of them upload their own contacts. We're also going to be knocking off a lot of the common feedback we hear around collaboration over the next few months. So unlocking all of the various collaborator flows you need for things like trip collaborator access, contact collaborator access. I saw in the chat request to see notes for those things. That should be this week or next week, fingers crossed. So we're kind of listening and prioritizing all of those key flows you need as a collaborator that you don't have access to today, as well as better organization and tools for library content management, especially for library items that are shared with you. So more coming in the next few months. We're going to be slotting in some quicker wins there and bigger features later in the quarter. Advanced reporting. So we hear a lot of different needs around reporting. So more to come on the exact reports that we'll make available, but things like better lead tracking, more modules available for sales and commission reporting, like reporting by area and region instead of just by agent and supplier. So again, more coming soon on reports. And then consortium integration. So we are shipping the signature integration by the end of April. So that will be incredibly exciting. I saw some buzz in the chat about that, and other consortium integrations in the first half of this year. But we know that world-class technology is not enough if we can't support you effectively in using that technology. So I could not be more excited to hand it over to my teammate, Ellen, to talk about what we're doing there. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm Ellen. I'm making my Tern webinar debut today, which is awesome. I've been preparing literally my whole life for this moment. So here we are. I'm so excited to highlight our support team today. I lead customer support here at Tern, and like Molly said, we know it's not enough to have great technology. We also have to have great support. And so we've always been a small but very mighty support team. Hopefully, if you've ever reached out to us, you have felt our really deep care, our really deep commitment to supporting you, which BTW, I know tons of you have because I read pretty much every single email and chat, and there is no shortage of chats for me to read. So I know a lot of you personally now. We're friends. Hi, everyone. Okay, hopefully when you're chatting with us, like I said, you have seen that we want Tern to have the best support team in the industry. That is our goal. So as our community grows, our standards are not going to slip. And I'm so excited that we are going to be doubling our support team in March. So we already have Johan on board. He's already made an impact for us and so many of you this week. And then in the next 2 weeks, we also have Ken and Ben joining us. So we're taking our team from a team of 2 to a team of 5. So this means we'll have expanded hours, expanded support hours. We'll have weekend coverage in the near future. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We are real people. We're here for you on every step of your Tern journey. And again, it's not just me that loves chatting with you guys, chatting and supporting with you guys. It's all of our support team. So keep sending us your questions, keep sending us your feedback, or just say hi. Okay, and then we're also investing in some entirely new ways to support advisors using Tern. So I'm going to pass it over to another member of our support team, Brooklyn. She's going to share a little bit more about what's coming up.
Hello, everyone. This is also my debut, so I'm excited to chat with you about support at Tern. So, as Ellen mentioned, I'm Brooklyn. I am also on the support team. I joined in September, and since then, I've had the chance to meet many advisors and agency owners, which has been amazing. And I joined Tern with a background in account management and customer success at leading technology companies, where I helped businesses maximize full potential of their products. So I'm excited to bring that experience to Tern, helping agencies specifically streamline their operations, improve efficiency, and elevate the experience not only for your customers, but for your agents as well. So at Tern, we really value listening to our users, and we've heard you loud and clear, even saw some things in the chat. Switching systems and migrating data is a big task for agency owners. So that's why I'm excited to be leading the account management team, ensuring you have the support you need throughout this transition. So by taking the time to understand your goals, your process, customers, we can help you leverage Tern in the best way possible to meet your objectives. To support this, we're building out a dedicated team to help data migration less stressful and providing personalized guidance and adapting your workflows, however you have them, into Tern smoothly. So our goal is to help you every step of the way, offering custom training so your team can feel and focus on what they do best. So over the next few months, stay tuned. We'll be sharing more details on what this process looks like, and we just can't wait for what's ahead. So beyond specific agency training, we do want to make sure you and your team have plenty ways of learning and getting the most out of Tern. So with that, I will pass it over to Jade.
Thanks, Brooklyn. Hi, everyone. It's my webinar debut too, so 3 in a row. But I'm Jade, and I work on both the product and the support team. And I'm a few months now into my time at Tern, and it's been really incredible getting to know this community. When Molly was out, I had the chance to jump in and help out on the product team. And now I'm using some of those learnings and focusing on expanding some of that personalized training that Brooklyn discussed. So I'm especially excited to introduce a brand new initiative, the Tern Community Experts Program. So we all know how strong and engaged the Tern community is. I think you can see it in the chat and in the Q&A. Our Facebook group is active every day with advisors and owners sharing insights, troubleshooting, and celebrating wins together. And we really wanted to take that energy and create an even more structured way for advisors to learn from each other. And that's why we're so excited to introduce Chloe Oxford and Jennifer Davis as the first official Tern community experts. I think many of you know them well already. Chloe was extremely active and had been leading work and learning sessions and ongoing one-on-one sessions with advisors. And it's really clear her passion for education and mentorship. So it made it a no-brainer to bring her on in this more formal capacity. And Jennifer has also been an incredible leader in the agency owners community. She's shared valuable resources like spreadsheets that simplify agent payouts that I think a lot of you have seen. And she makes complex processes easier for everyone. So as a part of this Tern Community Experts program, you'll see Chloe and Jennifer continuing to engage in the community. They'll be answering questions, sharing insights, and leading discussions. And they'll also be hosting group training sessions and offering one-on-one support, helping all of you navigate Tern more effectively. So really excited to introduce this program. And speaking of training, we have some exciting live training opportunities available. You can sign up for these directly in Tern and Learn today. And whether you're just getting started and hoping to learn some of the basics or trying to go deeper into some more advanced topics, there's really a session for everyone. So Jennifer is leading a session on March 13th next week that you can join to help you get started on Tern, learning all of the agency details, some of the features that we've gone through in detail today. Chloe leads work and learning sessions every Tuesday and Thursday for a more hands-on interactive workshop style designed to help you master Tern with like really practical best practices. We also have an advisor getting started training that I'm hosting every Thursday, and then rotating topics that are happening every Wednesday, deep diving into topics that are top of mind like group trip management, automations and workflows, and many more. Beyond these sessions, I've also been thinking a lot about updating our courses in Tern and Learn, so to make sure that they're as valuable and relevant as possible. So if you have feedback or specific topics you'd love to see covered, then please let me know. And another great way to learn about what's going on at Tern is our weekly podcast, Flight Path. If you've tuned in recently, you might have heard me stepping in for Molly over the last couple weeks. And if you haven't listened yet, there's an episode where I read a Valentine's poem about commissions rules that you've heard a lot about today. So that's definitely worth checking out, but I will let David tell you a little bit more about where you can tune in.
I mean, if a poem written by Jade about a feature in Tern isn't enough to get you to tune in, then I honestly don't know what I can tell you to tell you that it's worth it. But like Jade said, every week we sit down for 30 minutes-ish and talk about what we shipped. We hear this all the time from folks that like it can be hard to stay up to date with everything that's happening at Tern. So we created this podcast to really help with that, where you can just listen to the kind of normal cast of characters as Molly, myself, and Brad just talking about what we shipped, why we shipped that, what's happening with Tern, what's coming up. So you can find that at all the places that you get your podcasts, including YouTube, and shout out there. Last thing I have to talk about, we alluded to this earlier, but in case you've missed it, we are super excited to announce what we think is going to be a pretty game-changing new conference, which is the Tern Users Conference. When we go to a lot of shows, a lot of conferences, literally, I think in March alone, Tern will be at 5 different events. And they're all great for different reasons. But one of the things that we always kind of walked away feeling was that there's a lot of theory and there wasn't always a lot of implementation. AI is kind of the most recent thing for me. It's like you hear all these like AI talks, but there's not actually like, okay, here's tangible tools on how you can do that. Or it's like workflows and automations are really important, but no tangible, like let's set it up together. And so with the Tern Users Conference, we're trying to solve that because we're a technology platform, because the people that are attending will all be Tern users. We can combine theory with implementation, and that is the entire focus of this. We have chosen the second ever sailing of the Virgin Brilliant Lady for a couple reasons. One, this is a work conference. We get asked a lot, is this a vacation? Like, is it, is this just like, okay, we're going to do a couple things and party together because it's kind of a big investment if that's the case. That is not how we were thinking about it. We like Virgin because of everything that's included, including Wi-Fi, which is pretty important if we're going to be working for the 3.5 sea days. We also really like kind of just their team. And we also think that if you're going to be on a ship anyway, it should be a new ship that you can take that experience, second group ever to experience that ship, and go back and sell that to your clients. And so the fact that this is almost 3.5, maybe almost 4 sea days, depending on how you count it. The fact that Wi-Fi is included, and we've kind of included sailor credit to buy up to the top Wi-Fi package if you so choose. The team at Virgin's been fantastic to work with, and because we think this will help you sell not only Virgin, but also a destination. If you're not familiar with Bermuda, it's a great kind of island to sell alongside that. But the core reason we're doing this is because we want to help people really supercharge their business with Tern. And so we are going all in on content. We'll be releasing speakers kind of over the next kind of couple months, but the recipe and the requirement for every speaker, including our team, is that it's combining theory with a workshop style implementation where you will walk away understanding and having built workflows, automations, AI tools that will actually save you and your team time. You will have a group built in Tern, so you feel comfortable selling that first or 50th group, learning from somebody who's gone from 0 to over $4 million in group sales. You will learn how to optimize all these agency features that we talked about today. Like if you want to optimize one of them, like we will sit down with you one-on-one and we will build this out. And of course, you'll meet with people that are thinking about the future of technology in the travel businesses through dining around, socials, connections. Some of those kind of connections and learnings are just really valuable. And of course, the consultation, we're bringing a very large contingent of our team there so that every single person that's attending can get one-on-one time with us where we understand your business, understand your configuration, your setup. And so we know this is the big investment. This is kind of the details. It's $4,500 per cabin, which includes not only the cabin, $300 in sailor loot, $100 sailor loot, $350 bar tab, but also all the conferences. We expect that we will probably lose between $50,000 and $75,000 to host this conference. And so it's a little bit more than you'll pay for the cabin, but not much more than you pay for the cabin booking it directly. And it just helps us lose a little bit less money, but it's something that we want to do to support the community and to help make sure that hopefully several hundred advisors are walking away with a business that is truly maximizing every part of Tern. So we're really excited about this. We think it's going to be unlike any other conference that has been in the industry, and we would love to have you there. So this is the kind of public unveiling of it. If you go to tern.travel/conference, you can find your details. We think it's going to be really exciting. And as we wrap up, this is not the only thing that we're doing. I fly out in about 2 hours to head to Austria for the AFTA River Cruise Expo in Vienna. I'm going to be there with Katie, another co-founder of Tern. So if you're going to attend that, we're having a happy hour. We'd love to see you there. So you can find the details of that at tern.travel. And then if you go to the events page, you'll find the details that I meant to link that here. But if you go to resources, you'll see the event tab and you can register for that. We'll also be at the Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum, where we've met so many amazing people over the years. We'll be hosting kind of a little gathering, as well as speaking, being on a panel, and having a booth. So we'll have a big presence. And that is just 2 of the many events that you will find Tern at. As we wrap up, I always have to end this with just a huge shout out to the Tern team. Brad, Molly, and I get to be the kind of faces of a lot of really, really hard work from the engineering team and really, incredible relationship development by the support team and the success team. And, so while we get to be the faces, it's really all the people that you see here behind the scenes that are doing that. On the agency partnerships, Dylan, Courtney, who are doing the kind of like meetings with all the agencies that are excited. I mean, the just impact here is like truly incredible. We're just getting started with 2025, and it's going to be really breakout. I also have to give Brad and Molly an extra shout out. Usually I feel like I can kind of like carry my weight a little bit more with these webinars, but between conferences, travel last week, conferences, Monday and Tuesday of this week, I like literally got back home last night at like 11 p.m. and was like, all right, what are we doing for this webinar? And so huge shout outs for making all this work and bringing this all together. The slides, you would not believe how many hours go into that. So huge shout out to the team. They're what make it possible to get up every day and try and build something for this industry that really makes a difference. So appreciate you spending this time with us on a Thursday. We hope to see you at our users conference. We hope to see you at one of the other events that we're attending. And it's so fun to have a webinar with so many fun webinar debuts from the Tern team as well. So shout out to Jade, Brooklyn, Ellen for the webinar debut. Hope we see much, much more of you in the future. And with that, we will call it a wrap. Thank you all so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Everybody come off camera. If you're part of the Tern team, you're a panelist, you can come off camera. Just give everyone a wave here. What is it, like a TV show where they wave? Is that the Truman Show or something? I don't know. There's something. Anyone? Brad?
I think
Brad.
you could end the meeting, David. I think you did a great job.
Thanks for the feedback, Brad. With that,